The Cleveland Browns versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is who's in, who's out, and everything you need to know about this game. So, the 3-9 Cleveland Browns will take on the 9-3 Pittsburgh Steelers tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The Pittsburgh Steelers will be at home, and this game will take place at Acrisure Stadium. So, before I get more into the injury report, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates. Also, like this video. Now, let's get right back into it. So, both teams are dealing with some injuries as we head into this game, but a lot of the Pittsburgh Steelers players who've been out in previous weeks are coming back. So, looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers injury report first, you look at the injuries and you look at George Pickens. He appeared on the Friday, December 6th injury report with a hamstring injury and was limited. Again, he has a destination as questionable for the game. And also, defensive tackle Montravius Adams, he is listed as out with a knee injury. Those are the only two players on the active roster right now who have a game status, game destination for this week's game. There's also been some other players who appeared on the injury report, but who will be playing. For example, Calvin Austin III with a concussion. He has no game status, meaning that he will be playing, and he recovered from his concussion. Also, Corey Trice Jr., he got activated off of injury reserve with a hamstring injury, and he practiced in full this week and will be playing. So is Alex Highsmith with an ankle injury, who missed like the last 3 weeks, I believe. He will be a full participant as well and be back for this week's game. So, obviously, there's people and players on injured reserve for the Pittsburgh Steelers who've been on there all season. They're not on the active roster, so they don't appear in the injury report. The Steelers have a lot of players on injury reserve, so the Pittsburgh Steelers head into this game relatively healthy based off the last few weeks. And basically everyone who's on the active roster right now will be playing. George Pickens, he more than likely will be playing. He doesn't miss any time. Even if he's injured, he always plays. So that's the only one who's really questionable. But moving over to the injury report for the Cleveland Browns, they're suffering from some injuries as well. So looking at them and the game statuses, they have a long list. Because cornerback Miles Harden with a tibia injury is questionable for this week's game. Defensive tackle Marquise Hurst with an ankle injury is ruled out. Defensive end Sam Kamara with a concussion is ruled out. Wide receiver Cedric Tillman with a concussion is also ruled out. Juwan Thornhill with a calf injury is questionable. Wide receiver Jamari Thrash with a shoulder injury is listed as questionable. And lastly, tackle Jedrick Willis with a knee injury is ruled out for this week's game. So there's obviously some more players who appeared on the injury report, but all those players will be playing, and these are the ones with the game statuses who are up in the air. Just like the Steelers, they have some players on injury reserve as well, but they don't appear on the injury report because they're on injury reserve. For example, Deshaun Watson. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're relatively healthy compared to the Browns, but this should be a good matchup. The Browns beat the Pittsburgh Steelers by a few points in their last meeting, and we all know it came to the final play, the Hail Mary in the back of the end zone, in which it was made a big deal in the media and the locker rooms after the game. So this game should be close, and the Pittsburgh Steelers will be at home, just like the Browns were at home last time. And an AFC North divisional game is always a battle, and this is what's expected for this week's game as well. So, enough with the injury talk. Let's talk about the actual football being played on the field and what to expect from both teams. What to expect from the Pittsburgh Steelers is just like any other week. They're going to try to establish the run. They're going to try to get Najee Harris going, try to run in between the tackles, maybe do some outside zones. They're going to put in Jalen Warren, Cordell Patterson for some burst runs as well, try to get them going. But what they're going to do off of that is what they always do. Some play actions, some throws into the flats to the tight ends, and then some deep shots. Deep shot over the middle of the field with Calvin Austin, and then deep shot down the sidelines with George Pickens and some other guys. And then obviously those secure passes and those blanket catches by Pat Freiermuth over the middle of the field as well. And that's what they're going to try to do, get some play action going. And if they're able to establish the run, that play action off of it will work much better than if they don't establish the run. So that's why they try to establish the run to begin with. So what are the Steelers defense going to do? Well, they're going to secure and not allow points. That's what they usually do. Don't give up too many points. I know last week they gave up a lot to the Cincinnati Bengals, but usually they try to limit the team's points, just like any other team. But the Steelers are really good at only allowing field goals in the red zone. And then also what they're going to do is try to forcing turnovers. The Pittsburgh Steelers last week, even though they gave up many, many points against the Bengals, what they did do was create turnovers, which allowed the offense more possessions than the Bengals. So the Steelers, they're going to face the Browns, who are going up against who are starting a quarterback who actually causes a lot of turnovers in Jameis Winston. He throws a lot of interceptions. He's a gunslinger. He's someone who's going to go in there and throw the ball. And sometimes it's recklessly. He will put up close to 500 yards. Maybe not against the Steelers, but he's a quarterback that could do that. He did it last week in their last game where he put up 497. But then he threw, 3 pick sixes? So the Steelers and the Browns, this should be a good game. And if the Steelers force turnovers off at Jameis Winston, it should be a win for the Steelers. But if Jameis doesn't turn the ball over, it'll be a much closer game, just like how the Browns won against the Steelers last week. I mean, the previous time they played, because Jameis Winston was able to secure the ball and not cause those turnovers. So Nick Chubb, it seems like he always ends up going off against the Steelers as well, even though he's recovering from a knee injury and he's not really fully back to being himself. Against the Steelers, it seems like it doesn't matter. He always seems to do well. So that's something to worry about for the Steelers. And then Jerry Jeudy, he put up like 275 yards last week. And he had the most receiving yards in his game back against his former team, the Denver Broncos. So he's become their number 1 wide receiver after trading Amari Cooper away. And he's been doing a really good job. So that's someone to keep your eye on. And it's obviously their tight end Njoku as well. And their offense is still good. I believe their offense is better with Jameis Winston compared to Deshaun Watson. So the Browns are still a good team, even though their record only has 3-4 wins. I forget what it was, but they still have a good team. Their defense is still good. Myles Garrett, you can't allow him to wreck the game like he did last time they played, where he got 3 sacks in the first half and caused a fumble on Russell Wilson. You can't allow that, so you have to contain Myles Garrett. Last time the Steelers faced the Browns, Dan Moore Jr. said the Steelers' game plan against Myles Garrett was non-existent. They did not do a good job prepping for him. So hopefully they're able to turn that around and not allow Myles Garrett to wreck the game like they did last time. So it shouldn't be a snow game. It was a snow game in the Browns facility in Cleveland, Ohio. So hopefully it's not a snow game for the Steelers, and the Steelers are able to win this game and improve their record and beat the easy teams, even though it's a good team, or a solid team at least, in the Cleveland Browns. Another thing to keep your eye on is George Pickens. George Pickens against the Browns last time they played, he was having some problems containing his kind of anger towards Greg Newsome. And after the game, they both had some words for each other in the media and then on social media as well. And then this week too, before this game, just yesterday, when George Pickens was in the media, he said he didn't know who Greg Newsome was. And then Greg Newsome responded to him with some laughing emojis and a post on social media as well. So they're still going back and forth from the last game, and it's leading into this game. So that's something to keep an eye on too. That matchup between Greg Newsome and then George Pickens. Those two are the ones who got in the scruffle and the battle in the back of the end zone on the Hail Mary. So just keep your eye on that. Keep your eye on that for the matchup. The wide receiver, cornerback matchup, they should be on each other a lot. So the Pittsburgh Steelers head into this game. My thoughts on who's going to win, it should be the Steelers. If the Steelers play the way the Steelers play, and they play like their playoff dreams are on the line, and they're trying to win some playoff games, even though it's not the playoffs yet, they should win this game. And if they don't, then it's a problem. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe, will win this game. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, because this is the end of the video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below who will win this game. Will it be the Steelers? Will it be the Browns? Your score predictions. Give me your thoughts on who will make a difference in this game and what you're watching out for. Also, in the community tab on this channel, if you go to community, I put out a poll. It's between the Steelers and the Browns. Go ahead and vote on who you think will win, and also comment down below the score predictions there as well. So let me know down in the comments below. Also, make sure you subscribe to this channel, turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news, updates, highlights, analysis, reports, rumors. Also, I cover everything Steelers. After every single game, there will be a game film breakdown, so stay tuned for that after this game. Usually, it's posted the day after the game takes place. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, Cleveland Browns matchup for this week in Week 14, this is the game preview. And until the next video, I'll see you guys all later. I'm out. Peace.